And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we are talking about Snowfall Season 5, Episodes 8 and 9. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a like, leave a comment. And yeah, we're heading into the season finale. We're going to talk about both these episodes. We didn't have a review up last week, but we're going to cover both. And man, I want to start with one of the more shocking revelations. Well, there's a lot of big things that happen, but the first big one I want to talk about, because it plays into pretty much every level of what's happening, that being the reveal of who Sissy was in communication with, who was trying to help her take down Teddy, what exactly is going on with that, and that being KGB. And wow, I didn't see that coming. We probably should have, knowing where she was, but no, I didn't see that coming. We now, they were trying to get information on Avi. That fight broke out. I guess one of the guys, it looks like he's dead. What's going to happen with Avi? Was Teddy going to find out what's going on? There's a lot of layers to this. Sissies even have second thoughts. Guys, yeah, man. What are your thoughts? The KGB.
I think they killed Avi. It's like I've been saying before. He's been a little too enlightened this season, and he's been the voice of reason, something that he's never been. So I think that's just the beginning of things going south. And now they've kind of shown their hand to some degree, whether they know it or not, because, Avi took out one of their guys and they killed him. And, that'll eventually get back to Teddy, and they'll eventually get back to Franklin. And, they'll put two and two together. And there's only one person that, they're like, well, who could they have contacted? Clearly Sissy. And at that, Teddy's going to want to take out Sissy like he did Alton. And Franklin's not going to have that.
Well, throughout these last two episodes, you basically have Franklin making the decision to get out of the game, but it was based on the wedding episode. But with the reason he wants to get out is because of family. He's trying to protect his family. He's trying to protect his, Veronique and his unborn child so far. But I think with what happened with his dad, he's not going to allow anything to happen to his mom. So talk about like the Godfather, keep pulling him back in. I think that's what's going to end up bringing Franklin back into the fold. I think he's trying to get out now, and I think that's what's going to bring him back in.
I'm glad you said that, because there's two big things that I think are going to pull him right back. So you're right. At the end of episode 9, he has a sit down with Teddy and is just like, look, I'm out. You made a deal with Louis. That'll work out for you. I've done my part. Let's shake hands and go our separate ways. And they shake hands, and you're like, okay. Two things. One, we have this whole KGB plot line that's taking place. Two, there was a scene in episode 8 in which V goes to see Kane and basically says, am I safe? Is everything okay? He's like, yes, there's peace. You are safe. Obviously, the assassination attempt happens. Kane survives. Is that conversation going to come back in some way? Why was that conversation even had? Why did they show us that? Is there going to be a retaliation? And is she going to be caught in the crosshairs by Kane's crew? Maybe not even Kane. Maybe part of his crew. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas, but I thought that was an interesting scene that took place. So I say between sort of this feud with Kane, Mike could come into Franklin's world, and obviously the KGB stuff. Franklin's not out. It's something's going to pull him back in, I think. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think you're right. I think it's all of it, for one, because, like you said, the whole situation with that, where V is potentially not safe anymore, and Louis did what she did, and and clearly he's going to want some sort of compensation for a hit, for an attempt on his life, and to keep the peace. Franklin might, like, okay, I'm in, Louis out. In fact, Louis probably dead this season, if anything. And then there's Teddy, who, was hesitant to shake his hand there. And have we ever known Teddy to be like a fully honorable man, or someone who does what he does to get what he wants? And we still don't know what those papers were that Teddy pulled from his office
yes.
in the first place. So Teddy's going to use that. He doesn't want to work with Louis. Louis isn't as careful as Franklin. Louis doesn't think the way Franklin does. He's used to working with Franklin, even though he's worked with her off and on. And while Franklin was in a coma, he has more experience with Franklin. He thinks he knows him better. He thinks Franklin will be more careful, and also he thinks he can control Franklin. And I think that'll be proven wrong, because despite that, again, to keep the peace and to stop Teddy from acting and maybe even making an attempt on Sissy's life, I think he's going to go over Teddy's head, and I think that's something that potentially he doesn't know that Franklin has the ability to do, because I forgot the guy's name. I literally just forgot his name, but the person who replaced Teddy, he played a little faster and a little looser, and probably, he was in business with Franklin, and Franklin likely knows who his boss was and was probably using that as an ace in the hole, just sort of like, okay, well, Teddy's gone too far. No, I'm going over his head, and I'm giving his boss an idea of what he's doing, and the fact that I won't work with him, that this operation is in fact in jeopardy if Teddy's my contact for the point of contact for this, then I'm out. Then your operation is exposed. He's doing his own thing. So I think Teddy's going to try to blackmail Franklin, but Franklin's going to use knowledge that Teddy didn't know, that he accumulated over the period of time that he was out of business.
Yeah, I think that Teddy is. I think he feels like he's doing, and we've talked about Teddy 1,001 times about how he feels almost righteous in doing everything that he's doing. But at this point, I think those papers may be what Teddy feels like he has on Franklin. He's like, this is what I have on Franklin. I'm going to make him play ball. But like you said, almost trying to blackmail him into playing ball. But Franklin doesn't react well to he doesn't react well to people trying to not win him over, but people trying to
control him,
their dominance over him. Because even this is the first time when he reacts to, Louis. Every other time, even earlier this season, he lost his shit on Louis and all of them about, hey, the reason this shit ain't working is because y'all don't want to fucking listen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Louis feels like has everybody's best interest at heart, and Franklin was like, nope. But now he seems to be taking a back seat. But we've already mentioned several things that are going to, what we think, bring Franklin back in. And we already know he's smart and he doesn't like to feel controlled. And Teddy is trying to use whatever he can to control him, because he even mentioned that, I want to say this last episode, he's like, he's mine, I control him, blah, blah, blah. So he's referencing the control that he has over Franklin. And I think that all of the paper was probably, bullshit signatures, or how he's able to get the properties he has, or, just blackmail kind of shit.
Well, I am assuming it ties in. Remember an episode, I want to say 6 or 7, where Teddy met with this guy, and, we brought up the fact, we're like, who the hell is this guy? He's talking about accounts. And it was very puzzling, like Teddy was plotting something, but they weren't letting us in on what it was. And then you're right. Now all of a sudden he's taking pictures of all of Franklin's business and work, and it's like, what is Teddy up to?
Wait, it's probably Franklin's what's it called? Not his shell accounts, but yeah, like his shell accounts under that assumed named and everything. He's probably trying to control those assets. He's like, oh yeah, you no longer have this identity, or I've taken the assets of so and so. You try to get them, like, good luck trying to get them back as Franklin Saint. And he may hold.
No, I was just gonna agree with what you just said. How is he going to get those back without revealing that it's him?
Yeah.
Well, remember, he tells Avi, he's like, look, we're going to wrap this up because I have 3 times the orders. I have a large sum of money coming in, whatever. He's got something going on. And he basically told Avi, I'm going to need a lot more supply. Do you think that ties into that as well? Is he robbing Franklin's legitimate businesses or his offshore accounts? Like, that would be so messed up.
Like, if he's just stealing all of his shit to basically pay for his other shit,
he will kill his ass. Like, well, I love that was a great part where, Franklin's tripping during the wedding because of what Scully, putting LSD in the chocolate.
funny.
And Frank, you don't know what's real, what's not real, and you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is all in Franklin's head, and you hear this phone call, but then it cuts to Teddy like looking puzzled on the phone. And you're like, oh shit, that happened.
That was so
and,
good.
and he's like, he said he's gonna kill me, and I thought it was funny because and like he probably will at some point, but Teddy, even as good of a spy as Teddy, even he'll know that he's about to die and still die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like Teddy's like, yeah, he's in the know, but it's like, yeah, I think Franklin's going to kill your ass.
I think he is. I think that this is probably Teddy's last season, is what I'm thinking. That said, that was a lot of gall to try and Teddy is petty in ways. I think that hurts his case.
Very.
Franklin wouldn't react the way he did if Teddy wasn't so petty. If he didn't get the pie and the ice cream and smirk in his face and everything, if he wasn't that guy, they probably wouldn't be at this point. If he wasn't always screaming in his face when things doesn't go his way. And like we said, Franklin doesn't react well to that. Franklin's dealt with someone more reasonable for the past year while Teddy's been away. It's not going to last, and it's not going to go the way Teddy thinks it is. I think he feels he has the upper hand, and maybe we'll see what is next episode the last one of the season.
I believe so. Yeah, it's the finale. Getting a season 6. So, but yeah.
And they've already announced that that's supposed to be the final season too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, season 6 is the final one. Yeah, so I think this may be Teddy's last, or at best he may make it to the middle of the next season. But
yeah, I don't think he's a character who's going to make it out of the series live by any means. But
yeah, and I think that throughout this season he started to little bit by little bit sort of admit to himself in the world that more than he wants to complete his mission, he actually just wants to be a drug lord. This is what he wants to be. This is what he wants to do. And maybe that's what he's doing with some of that money. Maybe that's what he's doing with the weapons. He's establishing his own little thing.
trying
That'd
to
be so
compile just assets and money, and
That would be great if that's the route they go with this.
yeah,
But-
if next episode it's just Teddy standing in front of like piles and piles of guns and coke.
Tony Montana.
Yep.
So we have the Buckley story was one that I thought I knew where it was going, and then it went in a different direction. The hit fell. He loses his partner. The police are basically forcing him out. Everything's falling apart. He can't see his kids. Like, he's on a downward spiral. And my assumption is he was going to come at Louis and them, and something violent was going to happen. But then I thought this was sort of a clever moment. We'll see how it plays in the end. I don't trust Buckley for shit, and she shouldn't either.
God.
But she basically is like, you know what? I could use you. Work for me. You still have, how the police operate in this town. You have contacts. You know everybody. We'll use that to our benefit. You'll be one of my soldiers, and I'll be able to use you because now I'm essentially the kingpin. And so I was like, okay. I didn't see that coming. Caught me off guard, but I'm like, okay, I could. Okay, we'll see. Any thoughts on that storyline?
Yeah. You talk about it, and we've mentioned it before, the Louis getting in over her head, and this feels like a perfect example of that. The fact that she believes that she can control Buckley, and Buckley is a loose cannon at best. Holy shit. He's flying off the rails. He's getting more and more dangerous. He also is addicted to several drugs. And those things unto itself are going to put whatever she's trying to do in danger, vastly in danger. And I think that she feels like she can control it, but I think that Buckley may be Louis' undoing, and not, well, I think it will have to do with Kane, but I think that Buckley's going to be the one that points them in her direction.
I think you're right, but I think his firing and making him turn in his badge and gun, I think that was so that they would lead it. I think they know about Buckley's habits, the police force and everything. And they figure that Buckley is their in, that he's working with them. And because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the detective that was standing behind him, that's the guy that pulled Franklin over last season.
So I was questioning that too. Whatever happened to that story? Because you're right. The police department was well aware of Franklin, and there was digging going on. And so, yeah, I don't know. You might be onto something there. I'm not. I can't recall if that's the same cop. I didn't go back and look.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I think that's the same cop, and I think he's been like. And I'm gonna have to look back at, like maybe Wikipedia or something or past episodes, but I think he's been kind of dotted throughout last season and parts of the season prior. I believe he had a role in the season prior, but I can't remember it. I think it was small enough that you wouldn't really, think to follow his plot line. But I think this is a play by that guy. Okay, we let Buckley go. He's going to go running to his other benefactor. We follow Buckley. Buckley's so sloppy and high all the time, that he's going to expose everything, and that's our end. That's how we find the source of these drugs.
It maybe, and I think that Buckley, he is going to end up, because we know that Freeway Rick Ross, this is based off of him. So a lot of his stuff, it comes to an end here shortly. He gets arrested, and goes to jail. And the prison sentence happened after several other attempts, and his trial was not a short one. So I think that by the end of next season, that's what's going to happen. We don't believe he's going to die. They may spin it a little different, but it's going to get to the point where someone is going to either build the case against him, or the feds are finally going to be like, yeah, we can't control him anymore. We need to make him our scapegoat. So I am curious if Buckley and the other detective who you're mentioning, whose name I don't remember, if they've been building a case against him this whole time, and that's what his undoing is, or if his undoing is Teddy and all the shit that he...
Similar to The Sopranos, where the entire series was the feds trying to build a case. And finally, in the end, they finally start getting the pieces they need, but it took, that many seasons.
Well, yeah, it may well be a mixture of all these things we mentioned and more. It could be, Buckley and them following his trail. It could be them finding out what eventually happens to Teddy, or Teddy being sloppy and collecting a ton of evidence from Franklin's apartment about what's actually going on. Combined with the Buckley thing, combined with what's his name, the dirty cop from last season and the season before, being in the evidence room. All these things might come together to be their undoing.
And then the KGB.
And then the KGB.
The two other things. I'll save that one for last. The Gustavo. We get a lot of him. Voicing his opinion. But I my favorite part was the blood feud. He's just like, you're starting a blood feud, and Teddy's just like, they're not going to go to war. There's not going to be any real conflict. And Gustavo is just like, I don't know, man. And then Teddy's final line is, well, he'll get over it. And then he whispers, or he won't. We bring Gustavo up often, where's his loyalties lie? Where's he going to fall in the end? If certain things start getting taken out, now that Avi could be dead, that all went down. We saw all the conflict between Teddy and Franklin. Any thoughts on Gustavo going into the season finale?
Yes. When you mentioned that he's where his loyalties lie, I think he's shown us throughout this season the relationship that he has with Franklin, which I think is going to be very important in the end. And prior to just saying this, mentioning that perhaps it was Teddy that is the one that gets Franklin, the one that he turns everything in and gets Franklin. But I think that Franklin's at very least going to have a heads up, because I do think that Gustavo is going to tell him. I think that Franklin's at very least going to have a heads up on what Teddy's plan is.
Oh yeah, and I think it's just like he's probably going to try to, if anything, blackmail Franklin with it, and but he'll die and that'll be exposed. But Gustavo will be part of, like you said, Gustavo's going to be a big part of it because he's always seemed to be loyal to whoever's most loyal to him. He returns the loyalty that you give, with given the situation with Lucia and given how easily that turned into a relationship with Teddy, a business relationship with Teddy to some degree, where he trusts him a great deal. And now Teddy has shown a lack of loyalty, and he's seeing that Franklin is still very loyal to him. Franklin is still a fan and everything. And he's like, well, shit, Teddy's monitoring me as well. Teddy's collecting evidence on me as well. He's like, I don't trust Teddy, He's like, but I could be Franklin's contact. I do officially work for the FBI now. I don't necessarily need Teddy. I'll just go to our employer. I'll clue Franklin in since Teddy's, making a lot of wild moves and I don't trust him anymore, because he'd be a fool to trust Teddy at this point.
Oh, and that's a good point too, because Gustavo having contacts within the FBI now, he could be the one that's just like, hey man, this dude's a loose cannon. He's on drugs. He could, spin it however he wanted and make Teddy out to be the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Because he, like you said, he officially works for them now. He's in, and he's worked with them and Teddy, and he's worked with them and Grady, and they may see like, well, the most consistent thing here, our most consistent employee is Gustavo. So he's like, and Teddy, you've shown some strange behavior lately. I trust Gustavo.
He's always on time. We get what appears to be setting up. I'm not sure completely what, but Leon and Wanda, it appears as if they're going to go on some kind of journey. Whether it's through Africa, Europe, wherever, or maybe both. They're going to go and explore the world, and he's trying to figure out what his role is in the world. He wants her to be a part of that. I'm guessing I could be wrong, but that journey may start in the next episode, and then maybe when the next season hits, they'll return, or maybe it'll be a completely separate story. But it almost feels like that story is trying to pull away from the rest of what's going on, and maybe hopefully it doesn't end tragically. Hopefully he's able to go off and do something, and I don't know, but I liked all the interactions between him and Avi at the wedding, and I thought the scenes with him and Wanda were great. So thoughts on Leon, or the scene with Franklin was amazing when he got to see his apartment for the first time and saw that you never even opened the book, and he's basically saying, Franklin, I'm a friend. I'm trying to help you expand your thoughts and what your purpose should be, and it's so funny because at the end of episode 9, Franklin is finally coming into tune with what Leon was saying, but they're sort of missing each other,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thoughts on Leon's sort of journey.
Yeah, I do. I do, like you said, I hope that's a happy ending, but it's the show doesn't have a lot of happy endings, but maybe this is the one they'll give us. I'm hoping. And Leon, if anybody, he's been through so much, he could definitely use one. Wanda, she's been up and down. You love her, you hate her one season, you love her the next, I'd be okay with those two getting a happy ending and leaving just in time to miss everything that's going to go down, in the next season. That'd be nice.
Well, I think and we've, mentioned these shows a bunch of times, The Shield, The Wire, like all these shows that I don't want to say based in reality by any means, although this one is a little bit more than the others. But it's almost like they want to have a sense of realism to it. Like they want to have it be believable. So for there to be a lot of happy endings in this kind of scenario where none of them are really good people, although we're kind of rooting for them a little bit, us being excited that even one of these people might make it through might be too optimistic. I mean, other than Franklin, because we do know that it's based off of a person who is out and walking around now. So
I hope Jerome becomes a music producer. When he started playing that music, I think it was episode 9.
What if good night?
Well, yeah, do something that'd be cool. I would, he doesn't, do a story like that. I don't know why. This is that time when sort of, there was a lot of money in music on the West Coast, East Coast, and all that. So I don't know. It seemed like they were teasing it several episodes ago, and they sort of got away from it. But then he's like listening to music, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, he seems really into it.
I'm like, please do that.
That's part of that too, though, was because remember, that's what he wanted to do to begin with, was jamming Jerome's or whatever. So I think it may have been, instead of leading us towards that, just kind of referencing that was always his first love, was trying to get back to the community and not basically hold it hostage with drugs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, and that might be Jerome's ending too. After whatever goes down with Louis goes down, if Jerome lives, he might himself say, to hell with all this, and just kind of, just leave this whole thing behind, take what money he has, and go into music. And here's hoping for at least a happy ending for him, if we get it.
An amazing scene was at the wedding. They're high on LSD, but you have the moment where they're standing out in the field, Louis and Jerome, and they're both talking over each other. They're both speaking at the same time, but they're both explaining their love for each other. And it was one of those scenes, I'm not the biggest rom-com guy or romance guy, but I'm like, it was very well done, and I was very impressed at how they were able to sort of show you, these characters love each other, and I thought it was a nice piece of filmmaking.
I thought it was brilliant. The way that they were showing that they both feel very strongly about each other, but they were showing it differently. Like they both, in the end, love each other enough to make things work, but they also show that there's a reason they both do it, and it's slightly different. They love each other for different reasons, but
yeah, absolutely. It really encapsulated their feelings for each other, and not only that, but they started being honest with each other about things, and they were answering the question before they even finished. Like, I don't care about that because of this. I always knew that. Never mattered to me, and these sorts of things. It almost felt it. Well, it did feel. It did feel like more of a sort of important marriage moment in that marriage ceremony than their actual vows.
Yes.
It felt more honest.
Yes, yeah, the whole scene. I was thinking of the logistics of how much of a pain in the ass it would have been, because for them to be able to stay in their doing their monologue and the way they did it, but I was like, this is impressive. Yeah, but in showing the emotion and not being interrupted and not, it was very, very well done. I love that. That's about all I have as far as episodes 8 and 9. Like I said, we're going into the season finale. Holy shit. Any final thoughts on episodes 8 and 9 or the season finale, or just anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
No.
I just want to say I hope that they don't leave us on a cliffhanger. Where things are going. Well, I know we're getting something,
especially since they announced season 6. I'm like, oh no.
Well, I'm just saying, I hope things are resolved with Teddy to some degree, because he seemed to be like the big focus of this season.
Yeah.
I want to see what he's plotting. I want to see Franklin check him or maneuver around that to some degree. I don't want to have to, have Teddy, say, I got this on you. I've seized these assets or whatever. Now what? And then roll credits. I hope we don't end it there. I'll be pretty mad about that.
Well, that would be exactly the final scene. I'll be laughing.
I was so mad if I'm describing it right now. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we'll be reviewing the season finale. Got some other stuff coming up on the channel. Big Sky is not over apparently, so there'll be a couple weeks break, and then it'll be back in May, and me and Spencer will be doing that. The Flight Attendant starts this week. We intend on doing that. I've not watched season 1. Spencer has. I'll definitely have to watch a recap or something. I don't know if Larry, if you're interested in that series or not. I think the first 2 episodes of season 2 drops Thursday. I want to say something like that.
Yeah.
I'll try to check it out. Did you watch the first season? I know Spencer did.
I did not. Spencer did. Yeah. I'm a little familiar with it. I've read a little bit about it. seems right up our alley as far as stuff we usually cover. And then the following week, Barry. Barry
Yeah.
is back, and we will absolutely be covering that. Very excited. One of my favorite shows currently on air. Very excited about that. So, yeah, a lot of stuff coming up. Appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay woke.